Hey everyone, and welcome to this explainer. Today we are diving straight into a meticulously structured guide all about grassroots groundwork. Specifically, we're cracking open the canvassing playbook for the Linda Thomas for Register of Wills campaign. You know, talking face to face with voters is literally the lifeblood of maintaining our democracy, right? So we're going to neutrally unpack exactly how this campaign structures its field operations to get the absolute maximum impact out there on the streets.
Right out of the gate, the source material gives us this core mission statement. Cover the turf quickly, drop literature, and engage voters naturally. Honestly, that single sentence perfectly nails the balance you have to strike as a volunteer. You've got to be fast and efficient when covering your assigned area, what the campaigns call your turf, but at the end of the day, it's fundamentally about human connection. As we'll see, the goal isn't to awkwardly force conversations, but to just be prepared and approachable for when you naturally cross paths with voters in the neighborhood. Okay, so let's jump right into our action plan for today. We'll cover 1, the grassroots mission, 2, prep before you go, 3, working your turf, 4, engaging with voters, and 5, logging your results. All right, Section 1, the grassroots mission, focusing on efficiency. It sounds incredibly simple, I know, but the playbook really stresses that your overriding objective has to stay front and center. The campaign focus is Linda Thomas for Register of Wills. When you're out there on the sidewalks managing all the logistics, keeping this singular focus ensures your message stays razor sharp and totally clear during any interactions you have. Moving right along to Section 2, prep before you go, assembling the team and tech. So the campaign actually structures its volunteer teams with 2 very distinct roles to maximize efficiency. You've got the driver and the runner. The driver handles the navigation and safely repositions the car, while the runner is out there walking tight clusters of houses. Think about the brilliant multi-generational dynamic this creates. You could have a senior citizen navigating and managing logistics from the car, while a 20-something acts as the runner. It saves a massive amount of walking and physical fatigue. Oh, and before you deploy, the playbook strictly mandates that both partners exchange cell numbers. Absolutely crucial. Okay, next up is the technology side of things. The central hub for literally all your data is the Minivan app. Now, the playbook specifies that volunteers need an 8 to 5-digit number to log in. This is actually a unique list number generated by the campaign that downloads your specific turf data. And here's a major pro tip for you. Input that number and verify your access while you are still at base camp with campaign staff. Trust me, you do not want to be standing on a random sidewalk struggling with a weak cell connection trying to log in. Alongside the digital tools, you're going to need the physical materials. The guidelines explicitly tell teams to bring between 50 and 150 pieces of literature with them for their shift. Why so many? Well, because you need enough to seamlessly cover your turf without constantly having to drive all the way back to restock. And on top of those lit pieces, the strategy says to grab 3 to 5 yard signs to throw in the car. We'll get into exactly how to use those signs in just a second. Section 3. Working your turf, speed and strategy. Look, if staring down a giant map of a neighborhood feels a little intimidating, don't worry. The campaign designed this process specifically to prevent volunteer burnout. According to the source, each assigned turf area should only take about 2 hours to complete. Yep, just 2 hours. It's designed as a contained, manageable sprint, not some exhausting all-day marathon. Knowing you're on a 2-hour timeline really helps both the driver and the runner pace themselves. And here is exactly how you execute that 2-hour sprint. The street strategy is essentially a continuous loop. You drive and drop off the runner. Then the runner walks in tight clusters of targeted doors. While they're doing that, the driver pulls ahead and waits for the runner at the end of the block. It's awesome because it keeps the runner moving efficiently without ever having to backtrack to a parked car. Finally, the instructions note a super important rule: skip all known time sinks. The overarching goal here is swift coverage. So if a house has a massive physical obstacle, a locked gate, or promises a massive delay, just skip it and keep the momentum going. Okay, Section 4, engaging with voters. Keep it natural and quick. All right, here is a critical, bolded rule directly from the source. Never wear headphones while canvassing. Why? Well, remember our very first point? The goal is to engage voters when you naturally run into them. If you're out there blasting music or podcast in your ears, you are completely closed off from your environment. Staying alert makes you seem so much more approachable. When you spot someone watering their lawn or checking their mail, you want to be able to seamlessly say hello and transition right into your interaction. So, how exactly does the playbook tell you to handle those spontaneous conversations? It lays out a highly effective 3-step sequence. Step 1, use the provided script. Honestly, You don't have to invent talking points. The campaign has already done the analytical heavy lifting for you. Step 2. Keep it to 1 minute. Why so incredibly short? Because grassroots canvassing is ultimately a numbers game. A 1-minute conversation respects the voter's time and keeps your mathematical turf coverage totally on track. And step 3, end that quick conversation by explicitly asking for their vote for Linda Thomas. It's direct, it's polite, and it is remarkably effective. Now let's see how this builds on our prep phase. Remember those 3 to 5 yard signs you packed in the car earlier? If your 1-minute conversation goes really well and you've got a supportive voter, the manual says to capitalize on it immediately. You should ask supportive voters if you can place a yard sign on their property right then and there. It's a really clever tactic that turns a fleeting, momentary conversation into a permanent, highly visible endorsement in that specific neighborhood. Now, every so often, a resident might ask you a really specific question, like, hey, why did you knock on my door but completely skip my neighbor's house? Total transparency is key here. The playbook provides the exact language for this scenario. If asked, you simply explain that the campaign prioritizes reaching out to dependable voters. This honest answer instantly demystifies the process, relies directly on the campaign's data-driven approach, and keeps the interaction totally straightforward and friendly. And finally, Section 5, logging your results, closing the loop. So the physical walking might be done, but your job isn't truly finished until the data is secure. The playbook heavily stresses real-time recording on the Minivan app. Did they support the candidate? Did they take a sign? Logging this stuff instantly ensures the campaign's central nervous system runs on accurate, up-to-the-minute data so nothing gets lost or forgotten. Once you're finally back at base camp, your very last step is to return all leftover literature to your team lead so it can be reallocated for the next shift. And that brings us to the end of our strategic breakdown. We've seen how the Minivan app, that awesome runner-driver dynamic, and the strict 1-minute conversation rule all fit perfectly together. It just goes to show that modern political groundwork isn't just randomly knocking on doors. It's a highly structured, data-driven science. By combining swift logistics with genuine, natural interactions, playbooks like this one turn everyday citizens into the literal engines of the democratic process. It kind of makes you wonder, the next time a volunteer knocks on your door, what playbook are they running? Thanks so much for joining me for this explainer, and we'll see you next time.